So we're here with Mike McCormick, Patrick Nunnally, and Bob Lichty, all regional sales managers for AtlasIED. Anyone that's been in the AV industry or the tech industry for that matter has probably run across some really funny situations involving their tech or an installation or any type of use case. And we figured we'd pull the three funniest guys at AtlasIED together, and that have a long and not just funny looking, like funny guys. And Bob wanted to point out earlier that he is the only one on the panel with hair. So congratulations. And so we're going to talk about some funny AV and tech stories, tech fails, just funny stories, that we all share with each other when we're at a trade show or sitting around a bar after the trade show is over. But this time we're just doing it from our offices on camera. So I'll get us started. And this one actually just happened to me, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. So my son was in the hospital for a surgery, and he had just come back from the recovery room, and I'm still working. So I have my laptop there, and I didn't want to have a meeting, in his room. So I go out in this kind of central lobby area that's right off a couple hallways, sit down at a table, turn my laptop on, put my earbuds in, and I'm having this meeting. And this little old lady all by herself walks up to me, and she says, "Hey, is this where I check in?" And keep in mind, I'm in the middle of two hallways with no rooms around me, just some tables, and I have a laptop sitting on top. And I was like, "Well," I said, I could check you in. I don't really know what it's going to do for you, but I can check you in. I don't know what I'm going to even check you into, but I can try." And she laughed a little bit and then asked me where to go. And I didn't know even why she was there, right? So anyway, long story short, I'm thinking of this as far as technology goes is like in a hospital for wayfinding. Obviously, she didn't even know where she's going, right? So, and she walks up to a complete stranger asking them to check her in. And had I not been the stand-up responsible guy that I am, I mean, I could have started asking her for her credit card information, for her social security number, right? Like, so that's a hospital story. I have another hospital story that I hope we don't even need to get into because it's kind of, I don't want to relive it, to be honest with you. But stories like that, stories where technology could have helped or was misused, improper use case or stuff like that is kind of what we're talking about here.
So we had a situation where get a phone call from a church and say, "Hey, what's going on? How can we help you?" Church says, "Every time we turn on our system, we hear Rush Limbaugh." That is how the conversation starts. And without going too political one way or the other, I'm like, "Well, is that a good thing for you or for you?" Right? But they're like, "No, seriously, we turned this thing on Sunday morning. We flipped the power switch. We're picking up Rush Limbaugh." So we go to do a site walk, and as it turns out, the installation of the system, they had run unshielded speaker cable through the metal ductwork from the loft to the speakers, thus making a giant AM radio that happened to be right in line with Rush every Sunday morning. So I think the pastor was a little frustrated on not being able to get everyone's attention on that one. So just remember some of the basic guidelines, folks. Shielded cable, probably not run through the metal ductwork would help out.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, I got a little story. I don't know if you guys know, I have a very unhealthy fear of wireless headphones, microphones, and through a lot of experience. So we've all had the church where you get everything going, and all of a sudden, boom, you start the service, everything's been working perfect. Next thing you know, over the system, it starts speaking Spanish, because the church down the road kicked their system on and had the same frequency. But I've got another one even better than that. I did an installation for an integrator that I worked for a number of years at, I'd say it's Lad People Stadium. It's over in Mobile. And they have a little thing called the Senior Bowl. So this is the last bowl of the year. It's where they're actually considered professionals at that time, right? They're all seniors. They get paid probably in Mardi Gras beads. Nobody really makes anything, but it's a scouting opportunity. But it's run by the NFL. So it's NFL referees, NFL coaches, coaching assistants, and it's all these people. So if you've ever been to an NFL game, they have this litany of requirements, and every frequency within something is designated. They have a whole team that is focused on nothing but the wireless. So we put a brand new system in, PA, we got the wireless going, and it's been checked out for days and days and days. And just like the example of the church, when it comes to be game time, with the NFL coaches down there, and I got people down the sideline, I'm up in the booth. The first penalty is called, flag goes up. I said, all right, here we go. And nothing. The guy's talking, nothing. Now, ESPN takes about 0.5 seconds to flip out, right? So the ref on the field goes over the sideline. He goes, where's your backup microphone? Well, this is Lad People Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. There is no backup to a professional communication rig. So I'm listening in the headphones. I'm going back and forth. And the whole time, all I'm doing is hearing crowd noise, even when his belt pack is turned off. Well, what had happened is a network, which I don't think is any longer in existence, that rhymed with Ike. They had come and put wireless receivers throughout the hedges illegally, and had a van out there. We're actually recording football noises, crowd noises, and interactions, and that type of stuff for a series or an event they were doing later on down the road. So we had to go down to adjust the field, and the rest of the time for the first half was spent with the ESPN guy hunting down the signals, which we found him in the bushes. This guy had a meter that cost the size of a house. Cost the price of a house. And we actually traced it all the way back down to the van down by the river. And anyway, there was a FCC complaint after that was filed on behalf of all involved. But if you guys have ever seen me, this head, a lot of stress, nothing but raindrops. So that's my tech fail. Scoring one as it is.
I thought for sure there was going to be some sort of like communication picked up from the microphone and broadcast throughout the whole stadium that never should have been said.
Well, if you didn't have the mute button, there would have been, because you hear crowd people walking by the microphone saying stuff that is not something the ref would not be saying. Right. You are correct.
Oh, that's fantastic. We had a customer once call up complaining about a Bluetooth issue. They had installed a sound masking system with one of our Z series, and in one zone they had background music, and in the rest they had sound masking. And somehow one of the employees accidentally connected to the Bluetooth device on there and was scrolling through something that wasn't appropriate for work, TikTok or something along those lines, and basically ended up broadcasting that into the waiting room. And the customer was freaking out. He's like, how is this happening? What's going on? And, we told them, well, someone who had access to the system is connected to your Bluetooth. They said no one fessed up to the issue, but it never happened again at the place.
The HR investigation yielded no results.
Yep.
Oh, man. On the sound masking side, there was a customer who this just goes to show why we have the rampa things on sound masking, because this gentleman had a sound masking system put in his office, and when it fired up at full volume, and the guy immediately called, said, "You need to take this thing out of here. It's just making me have to pee all day." So It sounded too much like water running. So just remember to make sure to use the ramp up features when you're putting sound system in.
So does anybody remember, and this isn't my story, but I remember hearing about it from somebody. I think there was a tech call that came in and turnover at the facility, and there's a new IT director or whatever, and they were trying to troubleshoot their PA system because all it was doing was playing static. And after all kinds of emails, because obviously we're under the assumption that, okay, yeah, it's a PA system. Well, after emails back and forth and phone calls and everything else, ends up it was a sound masking system. And the guy didn't even know what sound masking was. And he thought he saw a speaker. He thought should be something coming out of it, but all he was getting was static.
That's awesome.
And there's another one that somebody used to tell where their sound masking system that they set up in their facility was an old 80s boombox with the frequency turned to a station that didn't come in so that it had static, and then they put a microphone in front of the speakers and they broadcast that out to the speakers in the building. That was their sound masking system.
Wow. That is cheap. That is cheap.
So speaking of people hearing stuff, this happened about 8 years ago. I took a phone call when I was actually covering Patrick's territory down in Florida. I had this guy call me. He's like, "Hey man, I need to buy some of your AH stadium horns." And this is just right when we came out with them. I was like, "Yeah, I hook you up." He goes, "Well, I'm going to use them for a unique purpose." I'm like, "Okay, what's that?" "I'm a tugboat driver. I live in a double wide, and I heard these things once, and they sound fantastic, and I want to use them for my surround sound for my home theater." He goes, "Do you think that'll work in that application?" I said, "Well, anything will work." And then he actually told me that he was going to put them in the wall and wanted to know that if he flush mounted the grills in the wall at the back end were going to be watertight enough to not leak.
Wow.
Cut a hole in the trailer.
Yes.
I hope you tried to sell them on a subwoofer too.
I tried to get pictures.
You got to go complete.
That is awesome.
Oh, geez. I don't know. That was pretty good. Yeah. The last one I have is another sound masking story because, again, same hospital, same day, same exact lobby area where I'm sitting. And I hear these two ladies who are waiting to get in, two older ladies waiting to get into their doctor appointment. Didn't know each other, so just met each other while they're waiting. And they start getting into details about why they're there. And I heard all of them. and I did not sleep well for a couple weeks because I wish I did not know any of that information. So any hospital directors out there that might see this, you definitely need sound masking, not just outside, the patient rooms and stuff. You need it in the waiting areas too for visitors like me that don't want to hear other visitor conversations.
Sure.
So I'll throw this one out there. I had a school district call me up, and we had just installed, or I shouldn't say we had just sold a really nice intercom system, and we did some analog zones, and they're like, we can't hear anything outside or in the hallways. Every time we make a page, it's just no level at all. Okay, where are you guys at? They're a couple hours away from where I live. So I told them I'll come down in a day. I'll take a look at the system, just see if I can see anything odd. Great. We'll have the contractor there while you show up. And I show up to the school, and the principal is just furious because they just spent all this money on the system, and classrooms sound great, but the outdoor and hallways, literally, it sounds like whispering. I go into the rack, and this is kind of where it pays off to hire qualified installers to do the job. They had actually taken the 70-volt output of our zone controllers and fed them into the line input, which was only supposed to get 1 volt versus 70, into the amplifiers, and proceeded to basically smoke every single amplifier in the rack. And to say at least, there was a lot of analog zones in this project, so they had to buy a lot of amplifiers. It's amazing what reading a owner's manual or Googling how-to video can do and save you.
No.
Some of these projects.
All right. Well, as expected, I figured you guys would have a bunch of good stories, and I'm sure you have a bunch more. Maybe we'll do a part 2 on this some other time. But and who knows? I mean, next week Mike might get another request from somebody that lives in a yurt that wants to install FS horns, and who knows. So
He will up there where he is, where you guys are. Better believe it.
Anything's possible.
That's it.
all right, guys. Well, thanks a lot, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thanks, friends. See you
Thank
later.
Awesome team. All right, guys.
Bye.